Must have been everything.
Depends on how far down you're at.
I mean, listen, there's already, there's yes. Yeah,
Willowwick.
Willowwick has already been tied in, so they just call it Willoughby East Lake.
So we'd just be Willoughby East.
No, we would be Willoughby East Lake.
But they would all be three.
Yes.
Everybody would be
Yeah.
which wouldn't should be any.
Where's all the 25-year-olds?
We don't have that.
They're mad at that age group.
You see, there's innovation that they have just for like, they can take it on up to 12.
We're all headed to the clubhouse.
Because those aren't causing children.
Yeah. Special needs.
And that school's not equipped for any of this.
My son. Well, at the end, for a while, he was going to
Oh, good. I posted this.
there for a while.
Now it's they ship them all out. Everything
For their career tech program.
It's just the beginning.
I just found this morning.
No, I'm going to hang around for a few minutes. I just wanted to
So I'm telling you, I think this is the beginning of a version. Because I don't think Wycliffe went there.
so I'm not sure what we're paying the teachers $80,000. I can walk in there and tell kids, okay, I need you to go to this website, watch this video, and sit there and twiddle my thumbs.
You got to skedaddle right out of here tonight.
I'll be glad if I can.
Sure, that's all right.
My grandson's one. But we also waited until after COVID to start using it. We left him home. I taught him before that. His sister taught him. She wasn't online. We pulled her out.
Okay.
Get her on X again?
That's it. Tomar? Oh no, he's done now. He's no longer president.
Oh, is it? Oh,
No, Kenny Ball is.
okay.
Get our good side, Mr.
Hi,
Massey.
Nancy.
Hey there.
Hey guys, what a seat on y'all here today, aren't you? Hey you. Over here. Come here. Yes. And then I'll have some.
We're streaming on Rumble, X, Facebook, and YouTube.
I'm just gonna.
Exhausting.
I know it's exactly why I am like super
I
tired.
was driving here and I'm
I saw the snow out like shit out of the Well, I wanted to.
Well, they are going to put it on.
I mean, you'll be out there for all these seats.
Absolutely. And I think we should make a change. That's going to be,
That's how you want to sit there?
I like sitting in the back.
I'll be
Yeah.
out there before. I'll be out there.
over there by Sweet Berry. But what we should do is get a chain of people. I'm telling you, if it could go from Sweet Berry all the way down into Willie, if I vote no, that would stand for Willie School and Brown School. They might, now there's a rumor. So, the reason why, especially they have whatever. So why is this?
Hi, welcome. Oh, I'm sorry. You're like because once they buy it, they're bad. You could go down the next day. They submit their Yes, please. Thank you very much. All right, it's up to you. You know, in mine, right. I know, it's disruptive. Although I did tell you, they come every week to start. There's a lot of ratings that this could
Okay. Well, my this is 3 years ago.
There is, but I think it's so you can do whatever you want. I have a mouse and
airport is open. It's a small community. Yes.
Let me look and we can get started.
okay.
I'd like to. When he's old enough, I'd like him to get he wants to be an air, he wants to be a building engineer. Yeah, 13 days.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Willowick Public Library. My name is Kathleen Joswick, and we're very pleased at the wonderful turnout we have tonight for this important program. We are so honored that our Lake County Treasurer has taken time out of his schedule and put together this presentation to share with us. I know there are going to be a lot of questions, so we're going to get right to it. Please join me in welcoming our Lake County Treasurer, Michael Zurin.
Thank you, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Okay,
I need a mic, buddy.
Not in the back? Okay.
Get the mic, Josh.
Okay.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, great. Well, thank you for attending. This is a presentation regarding property taxes and potential consequences that could happen if property taxes are eliminated. This is also going to review the recent legislation and the impact it's going to have on homeowners in Ohio. And I'm going to go over all the recent legislation, and I've kind of boiled it down to how it specifically impacts each resident in Lake County that owns a property. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what happened in Lake County. House Bill 96 allows the county to double homestead and to double the occupancy credit. And that was passed, I believe, in June of 2025. And I have some specific examples of, that's actually a handout that I'd like to hand out.
Oh,
Yeah, and I have a copy of the generic tax bill. Tax bills are actually ready to be printed, so you'll probably get them in about 10 days. And on this generic tax bill that you're going to get, it's going to show you exactly where the homestead is going to double if you qualify for homestead. It's going to show you where the occupancy credit has been doubled. So I'll wait for that handout to come out. But I did research the actual credit in Lake County and the impact it will have on each homeowner in Lake County that qualifies for homestead. And it's going to be between a $300 and $1,000 credit on anybody who qualifies for homestead and owner occupancy. So it's a pretty significant credit. It is for 2026 only. And just to give you a little background on the homestead credit, homestead, if you are a senior, 65 years old, or disabled, and you live in your property, and you make under $40,100 a year, then you could qualify for homestead. And homestead is a reduction of about the first $27,000 of the value of your property. And for 2026, it's been doubled. So if you look at the tax bill, if everybody has one, if you look under the left-hand side where it says tax values, and you look under HOM and OOC, you'll see a credit for $999.12, and right below that you'll see a credit for $170.16. So that is actually double the credit that you would typically get. This is a 2026 example. So very significant. It will make an impact on property tax bills. And this is related to House Bill 96, which allowed this to happen. Any questions on this?
You said this was only gonna be good through 2026 and that's it?
Yes, the commissioners approved the double credit for 2026. They would have to reapprove it each year if they're going to continue it. So this is a one-year reduction. But it's significant. It's $300 to $700 for a typical Lake County homeowner. Yes?
Is there any effort to make more people eligible for the Homestead Act? I myself was about $150 over.
I think each year the income limitation goes up. So I would check. You could call my office if you have one of my cards. We could check as soon as the income limit is released. Every year it goes up a little bit. So hopefully you're under it the next year. But you could call. I'll try to get to the number and see if they qualify.
Treasurer, can that be? How many years can
I would think indefinitely with the way the legislation, it's under House Bill 96, so they'd have to reapprove it each year. Now, homestead, the first $27,000 is actually reimbursed by the state. So that money actually comes from the state for the reduction. The second half, what the commissioners have approved, that's not being reimbursed. That's just to show the whole picture on the homestead credit.
Now, on income, do they include income as Social Security?
Non-taxable income is not included in
So
that
Social
figure
Security is not included at all on your income level, right?
unless it's taxable somehow. So the best example in how the legislation is written, if you look at your Ohio taxes, the last one that you completed, look on the adjusted gross income line. That is the line they're going to go by. And it's $40,100 now. It will be a little bit higher next year.
Adjusted gross income?
Adjusted gross income, yeah. But there's a question back here. All right. Oh, yes.
Since the title of our thing is the consequences, can you crash through briefly what the impact of that was on local government and libraries and police and fire?
You're talking about the doubling of the homestead?
Yes.
Yeah, the doubling of the homestead, I believe it was around $15 million.
Yep.
And that came out of the government agencies' budgets. So the schools, the townships, the cities, they had that removed from their budget. And
Libraries too.
and libraries. So that did impact them. There was no
Right here.
reimbursement from the state. So that is looking at the impact of it, yes.
Let's compare here.
Yeah, there's a question way in the back.
Reduction factors.
Yes, can you please tell us how much property taxes increased in 2025 and 2026, percentage-wise?
There was no impact. There's a triennial reevaluation, a 6th annual reevaluation. So in 2025 and 2026, there was very little change. It would only be if there was a levy that passed. But there was no valuation change over the last 2 years. That happened in 2024.
Okay, so, sorry, in 2024, what was the increase? Was it
The
about
increase?
25, 30?
It's probably around 30%. That would be the auditor's office, but it would probably be around 30%
For a year.
in Lake County. All right, so I'm gonna move on. What I'd like to cover is each of the legislation that passed. Oh, yes, go ahead.
What was this OOC one? You said there was two.
Yeah, OOC, owner occupancy credit. So if you live in your property, that doubled. It's not a huge amount of money, but it did double. So probably a lot of people would receive a $60 or $70 credit. In 2026, it's double that.
Age limits on that?
None.
I'm sorry?
No age limit on that?
No, as long as you live in the house, owner-occupied house, it's not a rental property. Okay. If we could go to the first piece of legislation. Okay, so there were numerous House bills that passed which impact property taxes. The first one is House Bill 124, which gives county auditors more oversight determining property valuations. So part of the huge increase in 2024, when the auditor reevaluated houses, he had to follow a particular structure on recent sales. The legislation that passed gives the House Bill 124 gives the auditor more control, and they can decide which recent home sales they want to go by to determine the new value, which I think would have a huge impact. So the next time valuations occur, there's legislation that's been passed where they could rule out certain sales, which would probably lessen the increase on valuations. So this is a piece of
I explain that again.
This piece of legislation is giving the auditor more control to choose the property sales to come up with a revaluation of properties every 3 years in Lake County. So this they have estimated will help keep revaluations lower. So this is giving the auditor more leeway to choose the sales instead of having to go with the highest sales. So this is a piece of legislation that passed. There's no direct impact until this happens in 3 years. Again, in 2027 would be the next time that it would pass.
Mike, I thought the third-party appraisers really determined which sales we're going to make. Are you saying that it is the auditor himself that is determining that?
The auditor has more control of the sales that are chosen for revaluation.
So they're overriding the third-party appraisers' numbers.
Yeah, that's what it says here, that he has more control than he did before. Was there a question back here?
Yeah, so if they have more control, how does the homeowner know what their home is being compared to?
Good question.
Well, the auditor is not here, but he would have more control
What
to...
does the law say? I'm sorry. What does the law say?
The law allows the auditor to choose if there are certain sales that he wants to throw out, he wants to eliminate. The law allows this in House Bill 124. And before, I do not believe he had that authority.
side is the auditor on?
He's a good guy, but he's not here. So, all right. So we're going to go to the next House bill. So House Bill 129 requires fixed sum levies, like school emergency levies, to be included in the calculation of the school district's 20 mil floor. So an explanation of this: if a school district does not get, if the school district does not have 20 mils in levies that have passed, they would automatically get an increase if the value of the house increased. But the old legislation would eliminate emergency levies, and a lot of the levies in your school districts are emergency levies, and they don't count towards the 20 mil floor. So a lot of the school districts would receive additional funds when a property's value goes up. And this House bill eliminates that. If they have a levy, even if it's deemed emergency, substitute, incremental, it counts towards the 20 mil floor. So what that means is there will be less money that is unvoted going to the school districts when houses are reevaluated every 3 years for a evaluation by the auditor. So this will have a big impact, not this year, but in 2027 when the values are reevaluated by the auditor. So this is something that we'll see no change this year, but next year we will. Actually, it'll be 2028 when it would have an impact.
Yeah, Mike, this is a real tough concept for the average citizen to understand with a 20 mil floor. But it was basic, correct me if I'm wrong, but that 20 mil floor allowed outside millage to be treated like inside millage. And when the ORC says that the inside millage can't be any more than 10 mils or 1%, the state legislators wrote the law that says we're going to treat outside millage like inside millage. So schools like Willoughby Eastlake got $8.8 million in 1 year without a vote of the taxpayers. Do I have that right?
That is a good example. I do explain inside millage in a few minutes here, but it is unvoted tax on property. It is 10 mils that is set by the state of Ohio that goes to Lake County. And it is affected by valuation. So
a 10% increase in valuation will mean a 10% increase in that school tax without a vote of the taxpayer.
On the unvoted 10 mil.
And also on the 20 mils floor, though. If you hit the 20 mil floor, because it's treated like inside millage.
Can you tell me what the Ohio lottery does for the school systems?
That is coming up in my presentation. So I got those numbers. I got numbers on a lot of things that people are curious about.
Yeah, the marijuana.
All right, so we're going to look at House Bill 186. All right, so House Bill 186 establishes an inflation cap for school districts' property taxes, linking the growth of rate of inflation. So this stops property taxes from jumping too fast because of revaluations of properties. So this is tied to every 3 years when a house is reevaluated. If the house goes up, but the inflation rate over the last 3 years has been 3% a year, so 9%. That's the maximum that the tax can go for a school district in this example. So it's actually capped, which they estimate it would save homeowners about $1.7 billion in reevaluation years because the increase is capped. So this is some of these pieces of legislation are hard to understand, and they won't go into effect until there's another reevaluation. But there is legislation out there to control the increase in property taxes. Yes.
And so over how many years would that save taxpayers, that dollar amount?
The dollar amount that was generated through AI, because I try to put in all the properties in Ohio and the taxes for schools in this example, it said $1.7 billion. That is the estimate that it gave me. So a lot of the numbers I'm giving you are estimates out of AI. using the mathematical equations. So they're not exact, but these are the numbers that I'm given.
So what period of time is that over?
3 years per valuation. All right, so the next House bill that I want to look at is House Bill 309. This is really important in Lake County. This one expands the authority of county budget commissions. So that is the auditor, that is the treasurer, and I think the prosecutor. They sit on a board and they look at each county entity's budget each year. And in the past, we had no power. So if a government entity had a lot of money in the bank, they had enough to operate for the next year, we could make a comment, we could say you have plenty of money to operate, and they could still collect their levy, and we could do nothing. This legislation, it does have some guardrails on it, but it allows us to freeze a levy, which is pretty significant. So if the County Budget Commission deems that a government agency has plenty of money to operate the next year, we could freeze their levy and it wouldn't be collected in your taxes. So this is pretty significant. I think this will have a huge impact. And the guardrail on it, though, is if the public passes a levy, we cannot freeze it for 5 years. After 5 years, at that point, we could freeze it if we believe they have enough money to operate for the next year.
That's why they're.
Yes.
Do you think that will have an impact instead of the other entity?
This,
That
right there.
That they can't have enough money in the bank to just spend it more, spend it down?
That is a risk, that they spend it down, right. But it's something to control because there's quite a few agencies in Lake County and throughout the state that have a lot of money in the bank. And they could operate, and this puts some kind of limitation on them not to collect if it is not needed. So I think this is great legislation. This will have an impact. It's going to take a few years to notice it, though.
Is this one of the reasons why these schools are beginning to go with earned income tax?
I mean, that's speculative. I would think that they're going with income tax because they're concerned property taxes are going to be eliminated. So they're looking at a different mechanism to collect the taxes. And it's my personal opinion, which...
May we take a step back? Did I hear you say you ran it through an AI model?
Yes.
Could you be some more specific? Was it one AI, 2 or 3 AIs, a proprietary AI?
I ran it through Grok,
Okay.
and I put in specific calculations and numbers, and it gave me the answers that it gave me. So I try to be as specific as I can. I use AI for a lot, and it's usually fairly accurate. But these are all new bills, so these are all new concepts. So I'm just trying to get it as accurate as I possibly can.
It was not compared to a second AI or a third AI
No.
to take it?
No.
Okay.
Can I add something to that, Mike,
Yes.
so they may understand? I'm pretty familiar with the County Budget Commission. I've attended a lot of them, and what I found out was that they were basically a rubber stamp. And the reason they were a rubber stamp for when the taxing authority sends their budget in to the County Budget Commission, because Chuck Colson made a ruling, and I'm not faulting him, but he just made a legal decision that says once the taxpayers vote on something, the County Budget Commission cannot change it. But that was not uniform, throughout all of the counties. Geauga County had a different view. They could actually adjust whatever the taxing authority said. But in Lake County, we could not. And I sort of chastised every time I went to a meeting. The meetings were 5-10 minutes because they couldn't do anything. So I'm hoping that this does add some checks and balances, because that's what I was concerned about. Throughout Lake County, there were no checks and balances on these taxing authorities. They could accumulate massive amounts of money and nobody could say anything. Lake Metro Parks had $30 million, Deepwood had $65 million, Crime Lab accumulated $10 million, and I kept saying to everybody, you can't keep sucking the lifeblood out of the community. That money has got to be in the hands of the people so they can spend it in the economy. Hopefully this will work, but what you're going to have is a treasurer, auditor, and a prosecutor that's got a stiff spine that can defend, because these taxing authorities and all the schools are going to be coming at them, and there's probably going to be more legal battles.
Citizen audit committee?
There was a ruling there in ORC. They did say that you could add 2 citizens to that committee, and I explored that. But what you'd have to do is you have to get, I think, 1,000 signatures to get it on the ballot.
Given what's happening in Minneapolis, you'll get those signatures. I was around a whole bunch of people this past weekend who are thinking of not even paying taxes if what's happening continues.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to, help Mike out, saying this is at least a start. Do I feel that it's going to work? Only time will tell.
Treasurer, are these held as public hearings? Can a citizen or anybody come in and speak for or against?
All the Budget Commission meetings are open to the public, so everyone is welcome. We'd love more input.
They're open, but they also in a public speaking forum?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of them, Terry, and they do ask a question.
Okay, sorry about that. So the Budget Commission, you want to ask the question?
Yeah, give the microphone.
They want to hear you.
Well, the question was, is the public invited to speak for or against any cuts that the Budget Commission may enact?
And the answer would be they're open public meetings, and we would welcome your input.
So they are a public, and there is a...
It would be limited for public speaking, but we would love to have some people attend, because usually there's no one there, except Ryan. Yes.
How is this going to affect, are you going to talk about the commercial property aspect of this at all tonight?
No.
Just residential?
No, just residential. Yeah, I mean, I'm covering so much, that could be a different presentation. Yes.
Can you reiterate, Budget Commission will not look at these budgets for 5 years?
No, if there's a new levy passed, there is a window where we cannot freeze the levy collection. After 5 years, we could actually freeze it if we deem it as not necessary.
But otherwise, you will look at these?
Yes, we're going to look at all of them.
Okay, so
but if it's a recently passed levy for the first 5 years, we cannot freeze it. It's right in the legislation.
Okay, so that kind of clarifies that part of it. So, has the Budget Commission formulated what they think is a reasonable amount?
Yeah.
This is the first time we have any authority to freeze a levy, so we're going to have to look at it and see if they have enough money to operate for a year. If they have enough money to operate for a year, I mean, we're going to have to see what we think is right. This is the first time we've had this authority, so I think the best idea is the public to attend some of the Budget Commission meetings and give their input.
When do they meet?
We have not had any yet. They're usually near the end of the year, because we review the budgets. So there'll be public announcements. You could contact my office. We'll send you the dates when the dates are set. But there's no dates set as of yet. Every year we review all the budgets, and I think the schools are right near the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. There's still I still think there's an issue with the Budget Commission. I still think there's an issue with the Budget Commission, and that is when I was challenging the amount of money that DEEP was holding, Chuck Colson had to step back, and he says because he represents Deepwood, he cannot make any ruling. So I think that's a problem that someone on the Budget Commission is representing one of the taxing authorities in the county.
Okay, so we're going to move on. I'm going to cover the last House bill, which is 335. This talks about inside millage. Now, inside millage is something that the state of Ohio allows each county to collect 10 mills, and typically it goes to a variety of different government entities, and usually about half of it goes to the schools. So what House Bill 335 has done is it's put a limitation. This has put the limitation on a cap, which is tied to inflation, which is something that's going to have a huge impact. Going back to the same number that I had before, If you look at this on a 3-year period, what AI comes up with is about a $1.7 billion reduction in what would happen if this piece of legislation wasn't intact. It wasn't intact, and that is through the state of Ohio.
Just for clarification, for example,
Do you want to? I don't think anybody can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay.
Speak loudly.
Speak loud.
Don't be afraid. Pretend you're in the schoolyard. This is school. Yes.
Just talk louder. You don't have to
Talk loud.
Go ahead, John.
Just talk loud.
I have a question while the gentleman thinks of his question. Did you calculate a per person?
Yes, I have that number, and it is not a great number. But if we're going to move on, then if you look at just 2026, and you take out the $300 to $1,000 credit if you're a senior and you're getting owner occupancy and you're getting homestead, all this, because most of it has not come into effect yet. Most of this will take 3 years. The average impact is $128 on your tax bill. That's the impact.
Can I add something else on this? Inside millage. There's some 32 different taxing districts in Lake County. We talk about 10 mills as a maximum. Most of those taxing districts are at 8.9 mills. And the difference is the county. The county is only collecting 1 mill, so there's another 1.1 mills that could be available. And what the county commissioners could do, if they feel that they need the money, they could go to that inside millage, and without a vote of the people, they would collect 1.1 mills. So there's still some challenges, with this whole system, that they can raise your taxes without a vote because of that inside millage. And the reason that inside millage is not at 10, a few years ago, Dan Troy and the commissioners at that time increased the sales tax and reduced the inside millage. That's how we got a less than 10 mills.
I remember, the last evaluation was 30% average for the home, right?
It was around 30% in Lake County.
In Lake County for the sexennial, over a 6-year period. Now, if this is tied to inflation, House Bill 335, that's 3% per year, which compounds to over 6 years is 19.5%. So which means instead of the house values going up 19.5 or 30%, it'll only go up 19.5. Is that what that caps out? Inflation?
The actual dollar figure collected would be the calculation. So it would be much less, but it wouldn't be the percentage of increase. It would be the percentage collected, which could be different.
Okay, we don't know what that is.
No. All right, so I want to take a look at what property taxes pay for, because I think it's really important just to get a good understanding of what property taxes pay for, and I want to go through each one of these. So it's about $23 to $24 billion in the state of Ohio, what property taxes are collected. So without property taxes or a replacement, there's potential cuts in services. One of the things that's been discussed quite a bit is mergers of smaller cities, townships, schools, libraries, actually combining them to reduce costs. That has been openly discussed in the state legislature. So that is something that I want to point out. I'm going to go into revenue replacement, and I actually have a survey, and I have about 1,200 responses. I've actually talked to a couple colleges and got their input. I'm going to share that in a few minutes. And potential for pay per service is something that they've discussed also with reducing property taxes. So if we can go to the next one. So when you look at the $23 to $24 billion in property taxes, 60% goes to the school. 40% goes to everything else, all the other government services. And what I want to point out is the services that are paid for through property taxes, so everyone has a complete picture of what we're talking about. So we've already covered schools. About 60% of that 23 to 24 billion That's where that goes. There's also public safety, which would be police, fire, EMS, emergency management, 911 service. The next one is roads, bridges, infrastructure. That the majority of property taxes, majority of that is paid through property taxes. Parks, recreation, cultural facilities. The next one is libraries. Health and human services. That would include Deepwood. That would include mental health, addiction, Adamsport. That would include children's services and senior and veterans programs. Also, we have, when you get into townships and villages, a lot of their income is property tax because they do not have an income tax. So I think it's important to show the whole picture on where things go and what services are, how they're paid for.
My question is why do we, as homeowners, why are we being taxed for libraries, our EMS, our police? Why can we not pay that? You eliminate property taxes. Let us, where we live in our cities, to have the cities send us a bill to pay for our fire, our EMS, to do it that way, local, then it coming, direct billing other than,
Tied to the home.
it's not, none of this should be tied to the home, period.
Absolutely.
So one of the, that's a really good question. I have a survey at the end, which I've got about 1,200 responses, and I talked to a class at a local college, and there were 60 students there. And I asked them their thoughts on property taxes. Now, none of these 60 students owned a house. They were 18 years old. But they came up with the solution of a resident tax, which is kind of what you're talking about. And they said that was the fairest way. Now,
But not attached to the homes.
well, they came up with a resident tax. It's not attached to the home. And there's 11.5 million residents in the state of Ohio. And if we're talking about $23 billion, that would be about $2,000 a person. So that would be what you would be looking at if you're just covering everything for resident taxes.
Less than my property tax bill.
So that's a good question, and actually I asked 60 people who do not own homes, and that was the answer they came up with. They felt that was the fairest. That's just an interesting.
The benefit is, what she's saying, okay, we paid it $2,000, but you get a point in your life, you get cancer, and all your Social Security is going for medication. They don't come and take your home because you can't
That's
pay
right.
property tax.
That's
Well,
right.
I'm giving the information that, it's a survey that I've done on, and I'll share it at the end. So.
When you mention survey, is the data being sent to a third party, or is it a survey that you're conducting and you control the responses that come back?
It's going to SurveyMonkey, so I pull all the data from the third-party site.
It's a third-party site, but who analyzes the data?
It actually gives me all the numbers, it gives me the breakdown, it gives me everything, and that's what I publish, is the data that SurveyMonkey is compiling. So
Verbatim?
Most of it is multiple choice, and then there's one question that is fill in the blank, and it gives me every single response. So.
Okay, so the data is not handed to any third party, then handed back to you
No,
as
it's
a
directly
more
from
independent
SurveyMonkey.
view, and it only is passing through you.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Treasurer, you said 11 million people, isn't that including 16-year-olds? Would we
Yeah.
be taxing them at $2,000?
11.5 million people live in the state of Ohio, and we're talking about $23 billion. So that's
They're
everybody
not
do
be
the
taking out
math, but
60% for schools.
Anybody under the age of 20 is probably not going to be paying a tax.
Right, so that would change the numbers.
2,000 is not a real valid number.
Right, it would change the numbers. I'm just looking
It
at
would probably be more
population.
like 4,000.
It'd be higher. Yeah, it'd be higher.
Thank you.
That 23 million includes businesses, doesn't it? What about the businesses?
Yes, yeah, it includes all property taxes. That would be business, industrial, residential, yes.
Mike, the Ohio Supreme Court has ruled 3 times in the last nearly 30 years that funding schools through property taxes is unconstitutional. And yet, the state legislature has done nothing. And I even saw our own governor on TV about a week ago saying we can't eliminate property taxes because the schools need the money. Now, he knows full well that that was ruled unconstitutional. So why is the government thumbing its nose at the Ohio Supreme Court? Because they've done nothing in the last 28 years now to address the issue. And it's
local
forced a lot of us out of our homes, especially seniors like me. I lost everything I had at Homestead with the reevaluation. My taxes went up $800 a year. You know, where's that money come from?
That's a good question. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And that's, you know, at the end of this, we're talking about a survey, and I've been sharing the results from the survey that I've done with a couple senators and a couple representatives, and I'm trying to express what residents want as reform and change with property taxes.
Yeah, which senators? Right. Good question.
I mean, I've shared it with Rovner, I've shared it with Serino, I've shared it with
Serino,
Congress.
forget it, that's wrong.
No.
Jerry.
Yeah,
Serino.
he's the federal.
These bills sound to me like a shell game to avoid talking about the big issue, which is the fact that the school funding has been declared unconstitutional. And now they're coming up with it because petitions going around to eliminate property taxes, period. So now all of a sudden, after 28 years, you start seeing these shell games coming out. We'll do a little bit here, a little bit there, but you know, I know government well enough to where if they're giving you something here, they're taking it from somewhere else.
Right.
So so to me, I'm all in favor of just eliminating the whole thing.
Right.
You want me to address that DeWalt case?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's where our
Thank you.
income tax comes in.
Anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Brian Massey, and I'm one of the 5 members of a committee that established the movement to abolish Ohio property taxes. And there was a reason for it. I've been looking at property taxes for over 10 years, and I've been telling the commissioners, I've been going to the commissioner meetings, I said, we can't. I saw my own personal property taxes go up 40% in 10 years. I said, if we stay on this path of ever increasing property taxes, we're going to price seniors and those living on fixed incomes out of their homes. No question about it. So what we did was, we started a SOS Save Our Seniors campaign. We thought that we could talk to our representatives, and again, we're in a representative democracy, constitutional republic, remember that? It's all an illusion. It is all an illusion. We tried to talk to Callender, Dan Troy, Jerry Serino, nothing. We then went down to the House Ways and Means Committee, and we spoke to them, and they were very smiley, nice job, but no action. I spoke before the Representative Romers, his committee to review and reform property taxes. This is the one that created the 836-page report that did nothing. 2 years of nothing. When I spoke before that committee, and I started to tell them that Willoughby East Lake School District was going to get $8.8 million without a vote of the taxpayers, and it was going to cost taxpayers $210 per 100,000 of market value, they censored my speech. They played classical music over what I was saying. See, I knew in 2024 about the 30% evaluation. And I said to our officials, we've got to go out there and we've got to tell the people what this really means. They said, no, Brian, you can't do that. I said, well, why not? Well, if you tell the people the truth, there's levies that are on the ballot that may not get passed. I'm starting to feel a little strange about this whole thing. Is anybody worried about the average citizen? What I've come to realize that our state legislators, they don't care about us. They care about their donor base.
That's right.
Those that are giving them campaign contributions. And I'm sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, we're an ungodly, uneducated, immoral society that are run in the state of Ohio by socialists. Now, the DeRolf case. The gentleman had a question on the DeRolf case. I've looked at this back and forth. And the use of property taxes is really constitutional. It's in the Ohio Constitution. What they were saying is that the
using property taxes solely or putting a heavy preponderance on the use of property taxes was creating inequalities in the various districts. For example, East Cleveland wouldn't generate enough money through the local property taxes. So what the state did, they determined a new funding formula. So they tried to, with the state, for those taxing districts that in the counties that did not have enough money to generate through local taxes, the state would give additional money. East Cleveland pays over $40,000 per student. $40,000 per student. I then said, well, wait a minute. If you look at Article 6, Section 2 of the Ohio Constitution, it clearly defines that the state is responsible for the funding. No question about it. What has also happened at the state level, starting with cases, remember Governor Cases?
Yes.
All of this money, we don't have a revenue problem in the state of Ohio. We have a spending problem. So all of this money that's pulled in from sales tax, gas tax funding, and everything else, there's probably 2 dozen different taxes, right? It's going into the state. And what they should be doing is they have what they call local government funds. The state is supposed to pay back to the local communities, local government funds. But what they have done is they have retained that money so that they can spend it on the special interests. When I was looking through I called the auditor's office when I was in this 10 years ago. And I was told by the auditor's office in the State House. And they said, Brian, you wouldn't believe how many special interest groups are here. Everybody's got a special interest group. Everybody's got a lobbyist for the special interest. The only ones that don't have lobbyists are the citizens. That's why I came up with this 501c4, to educate people, to say that it is all an illusion. If you continue to vote for these tax levies, you're funding your own demise.
Yep. Yes.
So, answer your question. The legislators have told us that the current funding of schools is constitutional. And I said, no, wait a minute. In our form of government, only the Supreme Court can determine whether or not it's constitutional. But the deception that the legislators have played on all of us is they keep saying it's constitutional. We've changed the funding formula. It's constitutional. If you say it enough, people are going to say, well, they would be lying to us, wouldn't they? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be on my soapbox, but when I heard the law, I'm just saying, Mike, I'm sorry. I took
No problem.
Thank you, Brian.
One concern, go ahead.
I'm sorry if I may. In your discussions with our state legislators, has there been any discussion about cutting spending? Given that the state budget has increased, doubled, I think, I just read a figure, since 2011, the state budget has doubled.
My concern with wasteful spending is when there are legislatures that are talking about using the rainy day fund and using the unclaimed funds that should not be used and spending that and just applying that in the budget.
But that's not what I'm talking about. My question is, has there been any discussion about cutting spending?
No, I have not discussed that. I have not discussed that.
Any chance you could talk to the legislatures about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. All right. So one thing I want to talk about is one of my biggest concerns. Very active in the senior community. I do have a couple nonprofits that I'm involved with seniors, and one thing that I'm very concerned with, which will need other funding immediately if property taxes are reduced, is Council on Aging, senior services, seniors programs.
I know Council on Aging in Lake County, Ohio, has over 100,000 meals that are delivered to seniors each year. And there are a lot of services that are absolutely necessary to keep seniors in their house. So in-home care, and this is a concern that I would have, that we need to have that replaced. It cannot be eliminated, because if you eliminate a lot of these senior services, they will no longer be able to live in their house. So this is something I like to bring up, because I like to look at the whole picture, and this is a big concern for me.
What happened to the $460 some odd thousand dollars?
That's missing from the senior.
That's missing from
Yeah, that would
the
be.
county. That could be going, where is it? Where'd it go?
Yeah, that would be. You'd have to talk to Council on Aging and what happened there. But I cannot discuss it. That is with the prosecutors. That is something that they're dealing with.
Judicial review.
Oh, but it just disappeared.
Okay, so I have another handout, which I think is valuable. So it is a copy of the tax bill, just so you, when you're looking at the tax bill, if you look in the middle under current tax distribution, there is a line that says Lake County, and I'd like to point out what this pays for. So there is a second handout that you're going to get, and I just want to point out what Lake County, what that line, that distribution line pays for. So if you look at the distribution fund, it shows you that pays for children's services, Deepwood, mental health, narcotics, senior services, emergency, police pension, recreation, road, sanitation, street lighting, and metro parks. And I think we need to look at the whole picture. We need to see exactly where these dollars are and how they would need to be replaced for a lot of these services. Now I have something that I think is really interesting, because Ohio has a lot of different sources of tax revenue, and one of them is sales tax. So does anyone have an idea of how much Ohio receives in sales tax revenue per year? Anybody have an idea? $14.1 billion last year is what they received in sales tax revenue. So anybody have an idea of how much the state of Ohio receives in income tax revenue?
I don't remember.
More than they need. Yeah.
Anybody have a guess? $10.4 billion
Told ya.
is in income tax revenue. Now, commercial activity tax. Anybody have an idea of how much the state of Ohio receives? $3 million. I have on here fuel tax. I could not get a total figure. It would not give me a total figure, but it's 38.5 cents per gallon.
How much is it again?
38.5 cents per gallon goes to the state of Ohio.
Wow.
And that's what's supposed to fix our roads, right?
Yes.
So how many tax for it?
Okay, there's more taxes. I want to go through the taxes because I think these are important.
And our stickers to our cars just went up too.
Okay, so cigarette and tobacco tax. Does anybody have an idea of how much is collected in 2025? $712 million was collected for the state of Ohio. Okay, this one is a little bit surprising. Beer and wine. How much do you think the state receives in beer and wine tax?
Just combine them all, call it sin tax.
Not a lot. $60 million. That's what they receive. All right, and then property tax. They receive about $23 billion. So that is those are the main taxes that the state of Ohio collects. Now, I wanted to look at sin taxes because I want to see what the state receives in sin taxes. So I broke down medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. So I looked to see how much the state received in 2025, and it was $116 million. Okay, gambling, sports betting. Anybody have an idea of how much the state received last year in sports betting? $26 million. $26 million.
Ask the Haslams.
And then, okay, so we have Also, the Ohio Lottery. That's a big one that everyone wants to know the figure. I thought it would be more. In 2025, they had a record profit of $1.44 billion. That's what the lottery brought in, $1.44 billion.
But it was supposed for the kids.
And how much,
So those are the numbers
how much
that,
was actually available
For
in
the
that amount?
schools.
$1.44 billion.
For the
That
schools.
goes to the schools.
That was transferred from the Ohio Lottery to education was 1.44 billion.
Oh, but the teachers get that in the unions.
So I just think that's relevant information. So we are going to look at.
Big chunk of change.
I had a survey, and if you want to hand out the survey. So this is something that I created just to. There's 132 legislators in the state of Ohio, and I'll get your question in 1 second. There's 132 legislators in Ohio, but there's 11.5 million people, and I think it's important to have your voice heard and let the state of Ohio know what you want in reform or change or property tax elimination. So I have a question. I have a survey, and I'm going to go over the results so far too. But the survey is asking what alternative revenue sources would you consider to replace or eliminate property taxes? And I have them all on here. I have everything from sales tax to sin tax. There's probably 15 different choices on here. I would really appreciate it if everybody would take the survey. And then it asks, the next question is, what is the most important service to you? To me, it's police and fire. You got to have a safe community. That is the most important thing to me. But there's many choices on here. If it's senior health services, if it's schools, if it's public health, roads, police, fire. So you have one choice there on what's most important to you. It asks your opinion on property taxes. There's a couple questions on that. And it also asks what your out-of-the-box idea is to eliminate or reduce property taxes. And there's been some really creative ideas. Some people that have lived in other countries, they've asked where natural resources, if the state sells a natural resource for drilling or oil, where does that money go? I mean, there's been some really creative ideas on other revenue sources, which if you take the survey, I have been sharing this with the state legislature, so I really appreciate it. But I want to go over, I'll go ahead and get your...
It's a quick question.
Yeah.
Where did you get your figures from? That you were just talking about?
AI. Got them from AI. I put in specific questions, and those are the numbers that I
That's
got.
not really a source answer. What's the source?
Grok AI.
No, Grok will have a source list.
They're on here. If you want to see them, you can. If you'd like to see the printouts, you can.
I haven't found one yet. None of these concern me, because I didn't share those.
I think that's your question, not Grok. The AI's not, the Grok not.
I'd have to print out the sources. If you want to call my office, I can email them over to you.
So, Mr. Zern, when we talk about all these taxes and so on and so forth, and like I mentioned to you, and I'll mention it one more time, that the Wickliffe City School owns Pete's Pond in Wickliffe. It's a beautiful piece of property. It's been there forever and a day, and they maintain it anyway. They lease that property for $1 a year to the Lake Metro Parks, but they will not, and this is true, they will not sell it, and if they were to sell it and get the monies from that, they would not use it to put into where they're lagging in dollars and cents for the school. They would only use it to fix their building and repairs and this and that. And I was just told this a few nights ago from the head of school board. When you've got a piece of property and you're leasing it for $1, that property is a gold mine, which the Wickliffe City School can get instead of coming after the residents of Wickliffe for more money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if that's a question, that's,
But it's
I think you really need to go to the school board and you need to argue the
property.
point.
But that's a piece of property, and it's like, I know you probably speak with them time to time. Could that not be something that you would be willing, like if the new school superintendent comes to you with questions, or their, what do you call that person? Their treasurer. I mean, it's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I think that would be the school board members, that you would need to talk to on that. They're the governing body of that.
No, they're not.
No, they're
Of
not.
that, they're elected to represent that district. They would be the ones who would make that decision. Yes.
It's fun.
All these services that are provided by Lake County, why they call it a tax and being put on our property? Because again, anything that's called a tax that's charged on property is subject, according to Ohio law, to government seizure, okay, and foreclosure. So why we calling it tax? We're calling basically a dandelion a rose. I mean, it's not a tax, it's a service. It should be, if we get a bill from, say, the treasurer from you, instead of a tax bill, we should get a service bill every year, you know, for these services. I mean, why are we calling something that's not a tax?
I mean, this is that would be the legislature. That's what they call it. That's what they pass. I mean.
But it's not.
Okay, so I want to go over the survey results real quick, and then if everyone could please take the survey, I think it's valuable to get your voice heard. So the top three alternatives, there's about 1,200 responses. The top one is cut wasteful spending. But the biggest thing that would have to happen, you know, in your example with Wickliffe, is you're going to have to go fight in your city and let the school board know your feelings on that, and that's what you're going to have to do. If you deem that as wasteful, then you need to go and you need to let them know your opinion on that. The second thing is increase sin taxes. That was the second thing that the majority of the people liked. And then the third one was impose a premium on luxury goods. That's what came up in the survey. Public services, people deemed police and fire and EMS the most important, schools second, and roads third. And then open suggestions and concerns. School funding was the biggest concern by far. Concerns for seniors and the disabled, that came in second. And support for low-income families on the survey, that came in third. And this can be taken online too. There's a link, but I really appreciate if everybody would take it. I think it's valuable information. And with that, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to.
All these things are coming out of our property taxes. And we have all these people, all these things are coming out of our property taxes because we own our homes. Well, we attempt to own our homes. But there's a lot of rental people. And I know that the people who own the rental property are probably paying property taxes. But are the people who rent doing anything to help with these burdens?
No. Except for their rent goes up.
That was the creative idea that came out of the survey from the students.
Is there anything in place now?
Nothing in place now,
So
but the
they're
value.
loading off to the people who own property.
No, it's in their payments, they're not.
But the value of a survey like this is creative ideas that the legislatures can work on legislation. And the students coming up with the idea of having a tax to live in a community would include everybody, not just homeowners. So that was a creative idea, and that was out of 60 students, all of them liked that idea.
So that would be a double tax for homeowners because you pay your property
Well,
tax.
the question to the students was if you eliminate property taxes, and they came up with a residence tax for everybody. So that was their idea, and they're not even homeowners. So that was really interesting to me that that's what they would support. And those are 18-year-olds. So, you know, I mean, it's to talk to the public and talk to homeowners instead of just 132 legislatures you're going to get ideas on how we could solve this problem.
Another minute, Mike, just I want to...
Yeah.
The other statement that I made is that the public sector has outgrown the private sector's ability to pay for services. I asked, what is the role of government? Should the government be in the business of property valuation?
No. No.
Without property taxes, Lake County paid $1.8 million for a third-party appraiser to appraise during the sexennial revaluation. Can you imagine how much that happens throughout the state? And I was also, talking to our state officials, and they said, well, Brian, if you don't have property taxes, you don't need an auditor and a treasurer. And my response was, that's a start.
Yes.
You think about the money that is being spent at the state level on property taxes. If you didn't have that, you're going to slash the size of this government. And ladies and gentlemen, that's our problem.
Thanks, Mike. Mine isn't more of a question than a reflection. I owned my first house back in the 80s. And I remember back in the time, you were proud to own a home, and you had write-offs. They took everything away from the homeowner by the end of the 90s. A lot of people around my age remember that. And then I went through the same thing. I lived in Bedford for a while, and we went through a similar thing. I had a little 2-bedroom ranch that I bought for $59,000 by 2008. It was appraised at $125,000, paying a lot of taxes. And now I'm reliving it again. The thing I don't understand is how they could tax us on assumed value. I've never got that for 30 years. Just because a house sells a block away for $215,000, this has happened over the last 4 years. I just don't understand why they just don't get rid of that. All this stuff is to me like going one ear and out the other. It's just like moving those cups around, And I really respect what you do. You're in a rock and a hard place. But the taxpayer, we're tired. I'm exhausted. I worked hard to have my little nest egg, and my nest egg is being taken away from me. And there is a good fear among Americans. That's why I love good American patriots. They are tired. They are really tired. And Ohio's just not going through this. Other states are. And I get we need schools, and I get it. But there's not enough kids to fill the schools. Two, that's another problem. Abortion has been rampant for the last 50 years. And then they wonder, why aren't the schools filled? But the teachers are still making... No rub against teachers. My wife was one. And I work for 2 cities, Bedford and University Heights. So I understand this. But I tell you what, we're tired. Yep. We really are. We're tired of hearing things. And that he had to be pushed so far to start this no property tax. And I know they're afraid in Columbus. But it could be done if all of us are cutting back on the prices are insane. Meat has tripled. Right. Do people really realize what's going on to the average homeowner who did everything right? A lot of us has done everything right. We scrimpted and saved. Maybe some of us has paid our house off early. Right. And then we're getting whammed. My property tax went up from $130,000 to $195,000. Then I had to go to Painesville and contest it. They dropped it down to $177,000. Well, whoop-de-doo.
It's called
We're tired. We're tired. That's just my opinion. Sorry, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
It's terrible.
Oh, wait, can I?
It's terrible.
So what I would like to say is with the schools, okay, I'm looking at this pie chart, 60% was up there, okay? Number one, the schools have less people going to them, okay? They don't have as many students in the school system. Why do they need 60% to support less students than they have in the schools than they did before. Why do they need 60% to support less students?
John's another member of the committee.
John Murray, I'm another member of the committee for the abolished property taxes. One of the fears here is how we can pay for the schools, okay? Everyone brings it up, and again, it's supposed to be the state that's supposed to take care of it. Well, I found $13 billion of lost revenue, okay, that the state can use to backfill 100% of the school funding. It's just that the legislators don't want to do it because, again, it cuts into their donor base. These are all tax cuts and credits that have accumulated over the past decades. House Bill 96, there's $4 billion of tax cuts and credit alone. And the ones that accumulated, I know Treasurer Zimmerman here mentioned about the cat tax. I think we need to correct it because Brock is wrong on that one. It's less than $1 billion they're collecting now in cat tax. They keep reducing it. House Bill 96 reduced it again. And what happened is it started out as a personal property tax, which being in business, I used to pay a lot of money to. And that was one of the basically incentives for me to make a donation to their campaigns because they were going to cut the personal property tax among lowering income tax. Well, again, one time also we had a 9% state income tax that was going to the schools. Now we're down to 2.75, which only generates $4 billion, which again isn't enough to cover the schools. So there's $13 billion in lost revenue that will backfill the schools in an instant. But the problem is they have to give all these, like for example, data centers. In the biennial budget, they put they said we're going to lose only $125 million in revenue from those tax
Abatements.
not tax abatements, but the income tax, the sales tax credits, okay? So the problem is that they're putting in these data centers are costing billions of dollars, and we're losing billions of dollars in sales tax with those exemptions. So all this lost revenue can backfill 100%. As far as the other 40%, personally, I mean, I know I voted for the levies for my police, fire, and EMS, and I want that. But that 40% isn't what's costing our homes. You know, but the other thing is, like I said, why is it even called a tax? Reclassify it as a service like it should be. You can basically send us a bill you can send it to the auditor or through the Treasury Department. The only thing is, we have to eliminate the appraisals because we know that's all rigged. So basically, whatever you buy the house for, that's what you're gonna set the rate at. And again, it has to be something different because not every house is different. You know, through this evaluation process, I have one resident that bought his house for $100,000. They now have it valued at $990,000. He pays $19,000 a year in property tax, $3,500 of which comes to the village of Timberland. Now I have a resident across the street. He lives in a bungalow. He only pays $575 to Timberland, getting the same services. Okay, police, fire, EMS. That's it. I mean, what's he getting different? And the gentleman living in the other house is 85 and lives alone. There's 4 people in the other house. So I mean, there's a discrepancy. We also, our police and our fire and EMS, we go through Eastlake, and we pay based on per resident, okay? But we collect the funds per property valuation. So there's a discrepancy there. So again, it all needs to be overhauled. And why is this amendment out there? Because again, we need to reclassify. It needs to be abolished because it's all broken. It was done wrong to begin with. And the problem is we outgrew it, and then they used the mass appraisal methodology to rig the system. Because what they do is they reverse engineer all the numbers. You know, like we were saying, the school and all these taxing authorities submit their budgets. The budget commission, they just rubber stamp it, okay? And what they do is they reverse engineer and say, okay, like Willow East Lake Schools, they ran 3 budget numbers. One had a 17.5% increase over the valuation, which is normally what it is. One with a 30% or 28% increase in valuation, and one if they didn't do any increase at all. You know, if they didn't forego. Well, of course, their budget reflected they needed that $8 million extra at that 28%, so that they have basically 60 days cash at the end of 5 years, because they have to submit a 5-year budget. But what they do is they made a resolution that said that after the 5-year period, they must have 60 days cash. So basically, they submit that to the Budget Commission, they rubber stamp, and of course, they reverse engineer it. It just so happened that coincidentally, the valuations in Lake County came in at roughly average of 30%. So I mean, I tracked this whole thing, and even like I said, the way they evaluate, the way they do the house, the mass appraisal, It's all rigged. And the only way to solve this problem, we have to abolish property taxes altogether and redo the whole thing. The way I charge for my services. It's as simple as basically, I'm gonna send my resident an invoice for it. And people say, what if they don't pay? Send it to collections or file a mechanics lien. Oh, well, then what? You'll never get your money. No, those mechanics liens, just like they sell the tax liens to a third party at 18% interest, we sell the mechanics lien for 18% interest, we get our money, and they're getting 18% interest. It works for everybody, but at least we don't
Should
make
be
people
an option.
homeless. Exactly. So, yes, sir.
Got an option to go ahead and if something accomplished. You were talking about your friend pays $19,000?
Yes.
Okay. If your issue, if this doesn't win, what people can do, and it's nonviolent, just don't pay the property taxes. How long does it take for them to repossess? 2 years?
3 years.
3 years. If everybody did it, it would stress the system, even if you just did it for 3 years and then paid it. Those 3 years would put the system in such chaos. It would be such chaos, they would have to change.
Hey, well, first of all, we're not gonna get everyone to do that. It's a great
Well, it's
idea.
gonna get there.
And the other problem is what they'll penalize us.
What you realize about structure in government is if you stress test things.
Right.
They don't have enough employees, they don't have people who know what's doing anything right. You don't have to go all the way and do anything really bad, but you can stress test it and it'll blow the doors off of everything.
Well, that's what we're gonna do with this amendment. We're gonna get it on the ballot, we're gonna get it passed, and then they have to do something about it. And again, it is the state's responsibility to take care of the schools, and they will fund it. When the schools say, well, where are we getting our money? They have to backfill it 100%. You know, it has to happen because that's the law. So
But you got
again,
the teachers' unions, so.
well, they're gonna put fear in us.
Right.
And again, we can't control that. All we can do is what we're doing now. Okay? And again, this is at least putting pressure, and they're giving us some crumbs, I'll give you that. But again, it's never gonna be enough.
No.
Because we need to release our homes from government seizure, okay? We need to truly own our homes. These aren't taxes that they're giving us, okay? These are basically services that we're paying for, and they have no right to seize our home. And then, you wanna bring up the schools, that's even worse, because not only are we paying for the school, the education, we're paying for the campuses, okay, that they're building. They don't put buildings, they put campuses on. And it's all on our mortgage, they put it on our homes.
Bond
Okay?
issues, bond
So
issues.
the bond issues, those are all second mortgages on our homes that we're accountable for. And that's why I do want them.
What do you think of how, like, with the, instead of putting a levy up, they did the 1% income tax?
No.
That's not good because,
I know, what do you think of that?
all right, what happened, they happened with Wilkie Slate yesterday, okay? What they tried to do is they wanted to go with a 2.25% earned income tax. And they wanted to basically, that was supposed to replace the emergency levies. Problem with that is this, there's many problems. First of all, the emergency levies, about 35% of it is paid by businesses, okay? So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that money and replace it and put all that burden on the wage earner. That's number one, that's a problem. And then again, why are you penalizing them? You know, they're the ones struggling, okay? And then again, it affects, what they're doing is say, well, it credits the seniors aren't paying that. Well, but you're also giving that credit to the businesses. And then putting all that burden of the seniors and those businesses for that replacement levy on the payrolls. You're sucking it out of the paychecks of those homeowners. And then that takes a breath out of the economy. Yes.
Except for the fact that Wycliffe is not removing any levy. They are all permanent.
Right.
They will not run any.
And that's what Willie Eastlake did.
It will
Because
be-
again, in there's no replace. It doesn't say it's replacing it.
Will Willoughby Eastlake, down the road here, look at merging?
Well, that's the other thing. We're talking about if they do merge with Wycliffe, okay, if they pass that earned income tax levy, the problem is then the residents of Wycliffe, will then that'll be imposed on them also.
But they need, but either way, they're gonna need Wycliffe to make up for their.
Well, right, because that'll bring, if they do pass it, then they'll need to merge with it to bring in that extra income, because again, even when they bring in, there's a shortfall.
Property taxes.
Yes, back there.
How many signatures do you have collected to get the issue on the ballot to abolish property taxes? How many signatures do you have?
Not enough.
I
I
don't
know not
know.
enough, but how many do you have?
Where's the petition?
Now we're probably gonna wrap it up after this. Okay. The number one question I get daily, how many signatures do we have? Here's what I said. Jerry Serino,
declared war on we the people. He said to me that if seniors can't afford their property taxes, sell their home and move into an apartment. At a Willoughby Hills meeting where the commissioners were going to tell all of the taxing authorities, all the communities that they were going to contribute on a household exemption and the owner occupancy, Serino said that he's not going to vote, he's not going to sign the petition. If it gets on the ballot, he's not going to vote for it. He doesn't want anybody in the room, all the politicians, he doesn't want them to sign, nor does he wants them to tell 100 people that they know not to sign the petition and not to vote for it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm declaring war on the legislators. When you're at war, you never give the enemy any intel. So when people ask me how many signatures you have, I'm the only one that knows in the state of Ohio how many signatures, and I say, I'm not telling. I'm not telling. One more thing, and that is, this is more than a dollar and cent issue. It's very important. This is a freedom and liberty issue. And home ownership is the foundation of our freedom and liberty. It allows families to get out of poverty by allowing transfer of wealth to the next generation. I'm asking everybody, if you own nothing, will you be happy?
No.
I don't think so. So you have to sign the petition, help us. John and myself and many others, we've got over 2,000 circulators throughout the state of Ohio. We are committed to getting this on the ballot. We can't do it without your help.
Amen.
We promised, and we've made the commitment, as John and I have spoken to a lot of Ohioans throughout the state of Ohio, we're not going to quit on you.
What can we do? What's the best thing we can do? A check?
Sign the petition. If you get, again, I'm not running for office, I'm not trying to make money. We don't have much of a bank account. We know that there's going to be, I was told they're going to spend $100 million if this gets on the ballot with the fear mongering. And this is grassroots. Because people are tired, as this gentleman said, we've had enough. One last question. I want to compliment this gentleman too. Go ahead.
I have no doubt this will get on the ballot, and when it gets on the ballot, I have no doubt that it will pass. But once it passes, what's to stop the legislature from just saying, we're not going to do it? They're already screwing around with abortion and recreational marijuana.
Yeah, I hear say they could probably, run it through the court system until we all head to the clubhouse.
How do you have the funding to be able to defend against that? They've got all sorts of money.
Understand, evil always has money.
Can I just interject one thing? And I'm sorry, it's not going to be popular. You can sign all the petitions you want, but it has to be outside of the library.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry, it's our policy, so I just want to interject that since you have it.
5 years ago, when I did some study on the fund balances for Lake County, I found, very simply, over $5.3 million of what they said it was overpaid property taxes. And I said, overpaid property taxes, how long have you had the overpaid property taxes? They said 30 years. So we've had all these commissioners for 30 years, and it wasn't a complex algorithm that I created to determine that $5.3 million. I just went down paper fund balance, and I said, what's this? Surplus over. Oh, that's the overpaid property taxes. Well, why don't we give it back to the people? Well, we don't really know. We don't have enough people to determine. Mike Zerner, when he started, how many dollars did we give back, Mike?
Over $2 million.
It was over $2 million. Wow. So I want to publicly thank Richard Zerner. I appreciate you allowing us to
Well, I appreciate everybody coming out and listening to the presentation. If you have questions, feel free to call me. My card is right here on the table. And thank you for everything. If you can please complete the survey. I keep publishing it. It keeps going in the paper, but it's really important to get everyone's voice heard. So please fill out the survey and turn it in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much.
Hold on.